What's up, dude?
Nothing much. How you doing, Johnny Woods?
I'm good. Thanks for coming, Brady Bunch.
Thanks for having me. What
Brady
do we do?
Bunch.
What are we doing with our hands?
This is what I'm going to say
Are
right
we
away.
gonna thumb wrestle?
People are going to be searching for the Brady Bunch, right? Like old TV shows
You
and
got
stuff
it.
like that. And then this podcast is going to populate because your name is not...
Boom. You're welcome.
Your name is not a fake name. Your
Nope.
name is named after the show, The Brady Bunch. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So your last name, your family name is Bunch.
The surname is Bunch.
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 Bunch of y'all. There's a bunch of y'all.
B-U-N-C. Yeah, correct. Like a bunch of people.
Okay. And then your actual first legal name
Is Brady. B-R-A-D-Y.
Yeah.
So my name is Brady Bunch.
Okay. Is it Brady Marsha Bunch? Or
It's Brady Joe.
Brady
the
Joe.
shortest of like words you can put for a boy.
J-O-E?
J-O-E.
Okay.
All my siblings,
Brady Joe.
3 letters in the middle name.
Will you ever think about going by Brady Joe instead of Brady Bunch?
Yeah.
Brady Joe sounds like you had that.
Well, that
girl
market's already
mullet.
taken by Earl Buck, right? So,
yeah.
Oh, Brady Joe, come on down here and get another tow truck of mine.
Hey, dude, if you drove a tow truck, you'd have to go by Brady Joe.
Dude,
I mean, that'd
I
be-
would.
Yeah.
I would.
Legally.
I would. Correct.
I'm
correct.
pretty sure that legally you'd have to be like, yeah, I'm BJ Bunch.
If I'm just ready to just quit this whole rat race, what we're doing, I will go by Brady Joe Bunch and just I'll have like a tow truck, man.
Dude, Brady Joe Bunch is a pretty sick name. I'm not gonna lie.
Well,
It sounds like the name of a beef jerky. You know what I mean? Like Brady Joe Bunch.
snap into a Brady Joe Bunch.
Yeah.
Spicy.
I could see Randy Savage doing something with you guys.
Yeah.
I could
The
see-
Macho Man?
Oh yeah.
I think he's dead, right? I mean,
Well,
he come up from
holograms.
the grave and like, oh yeah, rawr.
Yeah. If you got access to a crystal ball or something
dude,
like that,
Macho Man would be all
you guys
that.
could get him in there, I think.
Oh, Johnny Woods, we're off. We started.
Yeah. Oh,
We're going?
We're going, dude. This is
Holy
it.
shit!
This is the pod, dude. Yeah, we're just having fun. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you for having me out here. This is a beautiful land you have, and the podcast is gorgeous. I love the podcast. This is a gorgeous podcast.
Thank you.
But
Thank
the-
you.
At home, you can't see the piece of land this place is on. It is gorgeous. There's a beautiful lake.
Let's not
swans
give
on-
the address.
I know. I'm not going to give out the address, but I'm like, damn, this is a nice place, you know?
Yeah.
So
by lake, you mean the puddle you had to drive through to get back here?
correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
That's
By
a mud
Swan,
pit.
it was a homeless man bathing named Swan.
Exactly.
But it was cool.
We're in like the business industrial district, and then you come inside this building, and there's no way there's a studio in here, right?
And then all of a sudden,
and you
it's-
come up the stairs,
It's
and
an
you're like,
amazing
this is
studio.
ridiculous.
That's real. It's an amazing
That's
studio.
really nice of you to say. Thank you. Yeah, my friend Nick Taylor and I, we worked to build this place up for the last couple months, dude. I haven't actually been super into podcasting for like the last year, just because I just had a son last year, and I just was just focused on just trying to do spots and be funnier, and just got a couple opportunities to do the road. So it's like, you know, this stuff gets you so busy, you don't get to do this all the time. And also my situation has been like, it's at my house or it's at someone else's house. And
Right.
so this is the first time I've been able to like actually have a space where I have the keys to like an office building and I can come in here and just work.
And you have children. You don't necessarily want people.
Yeah. You don't want people at your house all the time. Weirdos named fucking Brady Bunch.
Right? Pull up in a van. I drive a van.
Dude, you drive a van?
I drive a van.
Dude, my kids are funny too. They clock people when they come over, and they like, yeah, they always make fun of people. They would have definitely been creeped out by you, no doubt.
Oh, no, I'm good with kids. Like, amazing. All kids.
Guys that say that scare the shit out of me.
It's
No,
a
just kidding.
gift and a curse.
Yeah,
It's a gift and a curse.
Yeah, that's fun. You have kids?
I had 3 kids.
You have 3 kids?
Yeah.
What
I have
are
a
the-
daughter, 13.
Okay.
And twin boys.
Twin
10
boys?
Yeah. 10 years old.
10. So 10 and 13.
Yep.
Our kids are similar ages. I have a daughter who is 11, a daughter who is 9, and then a son who is 7. So they're similar. And then we have the baby who's
Then you had a brand new baby.
he's about 9 months old now.
Wow. You have 4 kids.
4 kids, 3
You're
grown,
active.
bigger kids.
You didn't want to get the snip snip?
I'm
Was
not
the baby
getting
a
the snip snip.
surprise, or was it just you got tired of
The
doing
la-
your business on the outside?
The most recent one, yeah. I mean, we didn't exactly
Ooh.
know he was coming,
Yeah,
but
you
you
gotta-
know, this
gotta
is the
pass it
thing.
along.
This is the thing, though. You kind of know, right? Because
Right.
you have a certain kind of sex for 7 or 8 years, and you don't
Right.
have kids, and then you start having different kinds of sex.
Right.
Cream pie,
Right.
sex, you know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
You know, but this is the thing. When you
Yeah.
when you
We
come, when you come
understand.
in your wife, when you come in
Right.
your woman,
Yeah.
and you have that like there's like a moment that you don't get when you pull it out and finish on it.
It's called the spark of life.
It's something.
There's the spark of life.
You feel it
in there, right?
And you feel it, right?
Yeah.
You know that as a dad.
And then you instantly want to fall asleep. That's because part of your soul is trying to build another baby. That's how it works.
You do. Yeah. It
Right?
takes all of you. You have
Like
to go
if
on
I
the
fall
other
asleep
side.
on my woman, on my wife,
Mhm.
my woman, I own her. Other way around.
Take her to the cave.
She owns me. If I make beautiful love to my wife and I fall asleep on top of her, I think I've done my job properly, right?
Yeah. I think you got a couple more steps.
Right?
I think you had to actually pull it out of her and then lay down.
No.
Maybe put some undergarments.
That's how you stay in a long committed relationship. It's like sleeping on top of your partner so they can't get away.
You don't fall. I don't fall asleep.
No?
This is the thing.
Okay, it's a bit.
I'm 300 pounds. I'm 300 pounds. I can't fall.
Are you 300 pounds?
I'm 300 pounds, brother.
From the top up, you look 180.
That's beautiful. That's
You got a
lovely.
fat ass.
That's lovely of you to say. I do.
Are you sitting on a chair?
I got thick thighs. I'm just sitting on the ground.
It's just booty on the ground.
And this is the
Amazing.
thing. My lady, my person, she is a $110, $115.
Okay.
And she's like 5'3", 5'4".
Right. Shorty. I got a shorty.
Foot
as well.
shorter, small. It's like I can't, you know what I mean? I can't fall asleep on top of this person. This is dangerous for them.
I know.
You know what I mean?
I know.
Even if I had mouth tape and a snore guard on, it's still danger.
It'd be horrifying.
It'd be horrifying.
She would suck into your flesh. Your flesh would slowly absorb her, kind of like the blob.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm like,
And then
thanks for having sex with me. Let me
morning-
get off of you right away. Like,
mommy's gone, right?
Yeah.
Mommy's wedged in daddy's
That's right.
body fat.
That's right.
Johnny, we got to get you on the Atkins.
She lives inside me now. I actually have been active.
No, you look great.
I've been going back to the gym the last couple of weeks. I haven't been in about 3 days, but I was going every other day for like 2 weeks. And dude, I feel great. I feel better on stage. I'm better at work when I'm hanging out with my kids. No matter what I'm working on or doing, I feel like just more energy and just more confident. So just like a little bit of activeness, dude, is all I needed in my life. And I'm on the right track. I want to not be 300 pounds, dude.
Right.
Right. Like, maybe I don't look like I'm that big because I still have a lot of muscle inside, but I like to show it off a little bit. I like to show off my strength.
And as you get older, you know your
just one guy laughing in the background when I say I have muscle inside me.
somewhere.
What the fuck is happening? Who hired these people?
This is the man who was bathing out in the puddle.
All right.
Okay.
So we're having fun. Before we get too off track, let's talk about you a little bit. Let's talk about what kind of weird because we've talked about this in person before off camera. What kind of weird like childhood situation? Were you always in Ohio or did you?
I grew up in Washington State.
Washington State. So tell me sort of what the trajectory of your what weird happened to you in life to where you wanted to become a comedian, and then also tell me kind of how that got you to live in LA for a while, and then also I know that you have some affiliation with the Schwarzenegger family.
Sure.
The Last Action Hero, if you will.
Right.
I'd like to talk more about that because that really interests me.
We'll get around to it.
I think that's good stuff for the pod. That would be really
100%.
Yeah.
Let's give a brief. Who is Brady Bunch? So I grew up in Wenatchee, Washington, and so it's right smack dead center in Washington State. To a single mother with 3 older sisters. So my sisters kind of took off young when they were younger from my household. Like they moved out. And so I was basically kind of an only child. But I was also in school being named after a TV show. Like I was always getting trying to be getting made fun of. So the way that I would get back at people I would
call them TV shows,
call them names, make them cry by making fun of them,
How early do you think this started?
As early as I remember, and I had a speech impediment really bad. I have a little bit one now, but I had a really bad one when I was a kid.
So you were a stuttering kid named Brady Bunch.
I was a
oh my God.
I was a stuttering, not
you're a comedian.
Not super stuttering, but I had a speech impediment. Just my TH, I'd blur a lot of my words together. And stuff.
My son has speech issues like that.
And so I had to go and get training with, to learn how to speak better, right?
Yeah.
So
you enunciate well now.
And then I practice at it, but when I get ranting or something, it all kind of blends together, I guess. But so I had a speech impediment. I was named after a TV show. I didn't have any male figures in my life really to speak of. No dad around, nothing like that. So I grew up in a single house. So I always was the smart ass in school, right? And always, that led to me being a rebel in school, meaning, I didn't want to like do homework. I didn't want to like do the stuff you were supposed to do. So I had to go to an alternative high school.
You were different.
Correct.
Yeah.
I was different. So I went to an alternative high school. They sent me to an alternative high school in freshman year, which turned out to be the best thing in the world. Because at an alternative high school that I went with, all the gals that were there were ones that had babies.
Oh, right. They were the chicks that couldn't go back to normal school. Regular hours. It was like night school?
No, it was during the day. It was at the old dormitory in Wenatchee, at the old college in Wenatchee High School. So we had this old dorm. Remember, I went to high school. I'm older. I went to high school in the early 90s. So there was still smoking on campus for people who smoke cigarettes. Like you could smoke 1 year, my first year I was there. But it was a work at your own pace high school. Now, today, Westside High School, the name of the high school, is like an academic juggernaut high school. Like you have the right scholarship to get into this school or something like that. It's like there's ways you have to get into the school, alternative learning school to get into. But back then it was just where they put all the druggies and all the
misfits.
The misfits.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to do any homework. So I just got to hang out in high school for 4 years.
That's fun.
Play sports.
I've noticed that you mentioned that you obviously got made fun of when you were a kid. I've noticed that, I've seen you out before and stuff at shows. That's kind of where I think you shine, is like roasting other comics and sort of roasting crowd members or something bad that's going on. So I do see that sort of that the way that you sort of started being funny is still kind of reflecting into where I see you be really funny when I see you on stage. So I could see that. I could definitely see that for you as a kid, just kind of like having to have tough skin right away and also be quick. Being quick
I was little. I was a little guy.
So being quick is important when you're in that circumstance. You kind of, that's the only way you could fight back, right?
It's like if the bully goes, you know what I told you I was going to tell you next time I saw you? And it's like, give me a buck.
And so now you kind of bully people back when you roast them and stuff like that.
Well, I try to be like the Robin Hood of bullies. So.
Okay, go on. What does that mean?
Like, if you look at the people I have in my life, I do have a lot of misfits in my life because I love misfits, right? There are people who are made fun of wrongly for whatever reason or whatever. Those still can be your friends, you know what I'm saying? So
Patrick Callahan.
Correct. So when I see somebody make fun of, somebody else, and this comes from how I grew up, but like making fun of somebody that's less than you, right? That's when I just want to hit that person who's bullying the other person. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like trying to be the Robin Hood of bullying.
So you want to take out the other
I
other
like it
guy
when everybody is
roasting.
Kumbaya and happy go lucky. That's everybody loves when everybody's having a good time, right?
Right.
But then there's somebody's like, I'm key. It's like, oh, we got to take down this guy who thinks he's the number one for no reason, right? Because people who are number one, they don't have to tell you they're number one. They just are by their
that's
by how well they are.
Sigma male,
right? Yeah.
I like that. No, that's clear. That's clear. Okay, so let's talk more about your childhood. So 4 years of went from like kind of being bullied as a kid to where then you became like kind of the funny kid who would like roast back people, right? You're kind of becoming this different person. You're growing up a little bit, but also you're getting to do your own thing. You got a lot of time on your hands. Right out of high school, or you moving to Los Angeles, or what was the trajectory? How did you sort of get to LA and then kind of get involved in the business? I know you were into improv and stuff like that. When does this start?
This comes in LA. So I'll give you the quick rundown and you tell me where you want me to stop.
Okay.
So I'm in Wenatchee up until I was about 25 years old. And then there was a guy that I know named Chris Daughtry, and he was
The singer from American Idol?
No, same name.
Okay.
Different guy. He lived in Nashville, and he was working. He had come out to woo one of our friends in a church group that I was in, because I was hanging out with the Delta church group, like the church group in my life. Different story, but I was glad I was there. But anyway, so he came out, and he's going to go back out on the road as a roadie for these Christian bands.
Okay. So
me and my other friend Jeremy Scholl, we're like, hey, any jobs come up? Sorry, Pat. Any jobs come up? Let me know. So he calls me up, say, hey, we need a couple people. So I went out to work there, and so that's how I started touring. So I was a roadie for Christian bands for a couple of years.
Okay.
And then I slowly worked my way doing different things, World Vision, so on and so forth. And then when I was a World Vision representative, I came to Cincinnati, and there was a security guard, my future wife, but then at the time, just some hot 5-foot security guard that I was all into, because I like powerful women. Who am I to not love powerful women? But my opening line to her was like, hey, where I get a pair of them pants? Still a good one. It's still solid. And we have been together ever since. But she went and did the college program, and I was still on the road. And then we got together. I came out to Ohio, and I lived here for like 6 months. And then we drove to California. And then when we got to California, she went into work for Disney. That's where she worked for 12 years. And so I went down to Disney. We went to Disneyland. We live by Disneyland. And I worked as Goofy. So I was the Goofy character.
That was your first job in LA? You worked as a Goofy mascot? You dressed up as Goofy character?
Was in the character department in Anaheim, California.
Dude, you must have been hurting, bro.
Dude.
You were like, I'll do anything to be in LA.
I was like,
this point, right?
This is going to be... And the thing is, Anaheim is so far from LA. It's like, it's not even where we want to be,
So you're like what, 26, 27 at this point? Something like that?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So I'm 27 going on 28, because my wife was 18 when I met her, and I was 27. Come on, Pat. America, right? It's pretty good. And I checked that ID. So she worked.
She was supposed to be checking IDs.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So she worked at Disney, which is in Anaheim, which is a long drive. And then we eventually moved to Hollywood. In Hollywood, I started doing improv at the Second City.
Okay.
Before it closed down. Now it's closed down. But this is before it closed down.
I didn't realize there was a branch in LA. That's cool.
Yeah. They had 2 branches. They had a branch before. It failed. It was one in Santa Monica, I believe. And then they had one out for a long time. And for whatever reason, they never got as big as like UCB or whatever, for whatever reason.
But at the time, that's how you started doing this performing.
That was like, how
long did you do improv there?
I started improv in late 2003.
Okay.
Graduated from Second City in 2005-ish. So this is 20 years ago, right? And then in the Second City, through the Second City, in LA, I was doing different jobs. Like I was doing extra work, trying to figure out, trying to get my SAG card. Like that's one way that you can go get your SAG card and stuff. So I was doing extra work. I was doing all these different odd jobs.
What's the coolest thing you ever were an extra on? That's like that memorable.
I was in I'm like in the first. There's a few. My first extra job was for the TV show LAX. I don't even remember who was like Courtney Thorne Smith or somebody was like the Heather Locklear.
Heather Locklear
was on for like one season, and I remember I was supposed to be a baggage handler, and I'm standing there, and they're running this conveyor belt, and it's out on this tarmac. And it's just me and this other guy. We don't know what to do with the bags when they get to the bottom as they're coming up. So we're just kind of just flopping them on the ground. There's no cart,
like just throwing the bags.
Yeah. And then they're like back to one, and like, oh, we're supposed to be moving all these bags back up here.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it was.
They made you guys do it?
Yeah. We were non-union, like
your
extras.
It's your part. You got to do it. Oh,
like,
man.
This is back in the day. Like, you had to call up to try to get extra work.
That
and stuff.
sucks.
Non-union, $54 for 8 hours. And they make you do whatever.
You're like,
is
there catering?
Right. Exactly. But you had to wait for like the union people to go by. It was weird. But in that job, I met this guy, Greg, and he needed people to help at his job moving furniture or whatever, moving stuff. So I was like, yeah, I can help do that. Because growing up, I had learned all the trades, like all the different things. I can drive like, big box trucks and stuff, obviously I could do manly things, handyman stuff, a bunch of handyman stuff. So he was like, hey, do you think you could drive a box truck? So yeah. And so it turned out to be that he's Schwarzenegger's assistant.
Okay.
Right. So all of a sudden it was like, oh yeah. And he was like, Greg's his name. And he would have some of the Second City guys come and work, especially around Christmas, moving all the Christmas decoration into the house. And then we unpack all the boxes and get all the decorations laid out on the floor.
You decorated Arnold Schwarzenegger's house for Christmas?
No.
You would get it ready for them.
We would bring the stuff in. And that was the job. Now, before I go on, I did sign an NDA, and I'm aware. So
how long has it been since you signed the NDA?
2004.
And it's 2025. It's been 21 years. Is it okay for you to talk about it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's not like it's not like anything I know that nobody knows, I guess.
I've only signed one NDA, and that's when I
think they're good for. I
was hanging out with Jelly Roll, and during the time Hulu was filming a documentary about him. And so I have some friends of friends that know him. And so we were hanging out when he came to Ohio. And they were like, hey, no filming, no recording during any of this hanging out. And you had to sign this NDA to where you can't even really tell people about what you were doing while you were here.
Show pictures.
And we weren't doing anything.
Correct.
It was just a formality.
You were just taking it all in up here.
I was like, wow, this is like real Hollywood shit. But go on. You had to sign the NDA just to work there. So I signed
an NDA, and I think a lot of people do. And it's probably just a small one, just because they don't want you taking pictures in his house and blah blah blah, whatever. So just by working there and being available, like if they needed the jobs, they're like, oh, we can call Brady. So I became like the estate assistant. So they would call me and they're like, oh, can you do this job? Can you do this odd job? Like, can you change light bulbs? Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Can you clean our pool this week?
I never had to do the pool, which was cool. But like, can you build the barn for whiskey? So whiskey that's on social media now that you see with Arnold. Originally,
is that a horse?
Yeah, it's a miniature horse that lives in Arnold's property.
Okay.
So I had to drive like their minivan out to middle of like Oxnard and pick up this kit that was a barn kit, and then drive that to into the thing, build the barn for this horse that lives on the property.
You built the barn for Arnold Schwarzenegger.
So if you go to Google Maps and look at the little barn, now there's a second barn that's kind of identical next to it. I didn't build that one, but yeah.
So did you meet Arnold?
Yeah.
Did you ever get to actually meet him and talk to him?
Correct. Yeah. So I've had conversations.
Is he ripped still?
Last time I saw him, he great, works out every day. I mean, he's healthy.
Yeah.
He's strong.
Nice
fit.
guy.
Funny.
Really.
Actually,
I've seen him on podcasts. He's a personality.
He's definitely a personality. He's an alpha.
Yeah.
So especially like,
alpha.
And when I was working at the house, he was also governor.
Yeah. No kidding.
No kidding.
You were in like the Secret Service were around and stuff.
It was CHP. So the California Highway Patrol has their own detail that protects their governors.
They're on site at all times.
I think correct. And anybody who's that rich and famous is going to have security that's going to be around their house.
Okay. Yeah.
Already. So he already had that. And then when he was governor, he had additional. So they had CHP around. So
Wow.
and it'd be like me, and I drove a Vespa when I was in LA.
Yeah.
So I would have to work. I would have to take his family van, right, the work van there, and then drive around and run the errands, that I had to run. But it'd be like, I'm on my Vespa, right? And then behind me is Arnold sitting in the SUV, racing up to the house.
That's
and I'm not
crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's like Rocky, but Arnold Schwarzenegger is like the old guy, and he's like chasing you in a Vespa.
Right. And he looked, and they live on a private road. So it's like one of the coolest jobs, we would have to take the motorcycles out and drive them up.
Just like do maintenance on them and stuff.
Do maintenance, make sure they're plugged in, make sure, run them every once in a while. So make sure they're running and everything.
Does Arnold Schwarzenegger have motorcycles?
Yeah, like the T2 bike, the bike from T2, that big
the fucking Terminator Harley? No way.
I've rolled that thing down. Yeah.
Isn't that crazy that he owns it, dude? That's wild.
James Cameron just gave him that bike as a gift.
Wow. I mean, it was a fucking hit movie, so why wouldn't he, honestly?
Right.
Yeah,
so,
I'm a big fan of Arnold. Now, does he have I know you weren't supposed to take pictures, but is there like a shrine of him with like he's all shredded and shit? Like when you walk into the foyer, is it like him with no shirt on, like 50-foot painting of?
I can't tell you how many photos of just him are in that house, but I would tell you that if I had to work one day just dusting even all those photos, I would put in overtime.
So he's got photos of himself jacked up everywhere. Every time he turns the corner, it's just him. Like
the dude is.
He's like,
he is a specimen.
He's like, you got me.
He is a specimen. He's just
scared
a lot of photos.
Scared of his own photos.
A lot more photos. I don't have as many photos of myself in my house. Matter of fact, I don't think I have.
How did I fucking clocked it?
One.
I clocked it.
I think I have one photo
of you,
of myself in my house.
Yeah,
he has a lot of photos.
Arnold doesn't even have pictures of his kids. It's just pictures of him holding trophies. It's my trophies at the beach. This is the time me and my trophies went to the Hamptons for the summer.
Ski. On a ski lift.
Yeah, that's great.
And he's an excellent skier. So.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. Yeah, we have nothing but good things to say about Arnold here at the Morning Woods podcast.
He is he's an interesting guy. The family was always good to me. They're fun.
So you were still doing improv this whole time while you were kind of working?
Correct. Yes.
And are you still working at Disneyland dressing in costumes? No. Or did that kind of fall apart for you?
Yeah. So when I couldn't handle it.
When did you get tired of fucking kids like fucking kicking you and fucking trying to punch you?
Una mas for the baby. I've heard that term 100,000 times in my life.
What does that mean? Take a picture.
Una mas one more time. Just one more picture because you go out for 20 minutes. You're in this costume and
you're in LA. It's hot. It's smoking hot.
You're on pavement, right? You're in a costume. Goofy, for example. I do Goofy all the time. Goofy looks. Kids, turn away if you're watching. I'm going to explain how Disney Goofy works. So anyways, that was stupid. You can cut that out, Pat. Anyways, so Goofy, you look through his mouth, right? But you have to keep your head like this. See that, Johnny?
Yeah.
Kind of cockeyed like that.
Yeah.
And so you keep your head down like this when you do, you don't make sounds, and you take your pictures. So I'm doing like this, taking a picture, and all you can see is like chest and feet, which is nice. But and all of a sudden, a 14-year-old kid came running and jumped and gave Goofy an elbow drop on his nose, which is there's a Velcro that runs down and it's around your waist, right?
Yeah,
the head. So he's like, and I could just felt my neck go, and
it opened the costume up.
I went up to his mom. And I put the mouth right by her face. And I was like, you need to take your kid out of the park right now. Right now. So there has to be a picture somewhere of Goofy basically enveloping, like sharking a woman. And I did not.
You put the costume right up on her?
I put my face right to her face to let her know that her son was a shit.
Yeah.
Right? But I'm also dressed as one of the most animated Goofy guys in the world. So I just basically grab her and pull her mouth, her face right to my face, but it's Goofy's mouth.
Yeah.
And I was like, you got to get your kid out of here. He's no good.
He's no good.
Something like that.
This part came for him.
I didn't cuss,
Yeah.
but I did say, like, your kid's no good. He just, like, basically tried to break my neck.
Did that result in anything, kind of, or did you get? I could see this happening. I
stormed off. Stormed off set.
I can see Disney being like, "Well, it's your fault, right? Because we need the kids here. We want that lady to keep coming back."
Luckily enough, it happened in Toontown. So it happened in Toontown, y'all. It happened in Toontown, and
there's security in Toontown.
There was enough witnesses to be like, Pat's having a hard time. The shroom's kicking in.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was enough witnesses that there was like goofy or characters sometimes they get handlers to get, costume or non-costume people to go with them just to help them out, right? Because it's so crowded, so many people. But I didn't have one because I was goofy and I just run around, have a good time. So I stormed off, and they did. It kind of messed up my neck. I had to spend like 2 weeks out of costume. But then when you go out of costume, they still make you come into work at Disney. You just have to wear like a jacket and like
a tuxedo T-shirt.
No, it's like a little work jacket. And you just come in and you help out the characters. However,
that's fun.
But yeah, so 18 months. I think a
year and a half. You just couldn't deal with it anymore.
And by that time we had moved up to Los Angeles. So we actually had moved up from Anaheim, Los Angeles. My wife drove that whole distance.
What is that? An hour and a half, 2 hour drive?
One way sometimes.
Yeah.
Right. It's about an hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half. Yeah.
But unless you if you hit traffic, it's.
You hit traffic. One time she was in traffic for 4 hours trying to come home.
That's insane.
And like, I'm trying to like help her on the computer. This is before 2007, before you have an iPhone telling you how to get home. I'm trying to tell her on the computer, well, if you get off at, Coanga or whatever and take a left and drive 5 miles, I can get you on a side street. It's like, doing something crazy, trying to figure out ways to get this woman that you love home to you. And it's just like such a weird thing, to be like, oh, I don't know how to help you.
There's just so many people in such a small area.
And obviously, it's not designed for that many people.
No, it's insane, dude.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
And we lived there, and we lived in LA for, almost 12 years. Almost 12 years. And the reason why we left. No. And we left to come to Ohio to, have that
Midwest family life.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
So they can be close to the cousins, which they are. I love good school district. That kind of stuff. Like, God bless the people my friends that stayed in LA that have kids. They've gotten lucky and they have gotten into charter schools or whatever. Whatever the case is.
Yeah.
But I was a stay-at-home dad when my daughter came. Like I became a stay-at-home dad, and I would just do stuff at night.
Yeah. Did you start stand-up while you were in LA, or that happened when you got back to Ohio?
Happened when I got back. I had done stand-up one time in like 2000 when I was like, well, I'm not sure. No, it wouldn't be 2000. It would be 98, right? Or something crazy. A long time ago. Ate shit the first time, right? Ate shit. A couple of my friends were there. There's like the funniest thing that I said was something that just came off the top of my head. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know how to write. I'm a little bit, I am dyslexic. So writing in general, like the word writing, it's scary. It's like, oh, you got to do writing. You got to sit down and write words out and force yourself to like write through it, right through you not knowing how to spell the word for. Because it has an F in it. And then you're like, how do you spell for again? Like, how's that word spelled?
Yeah.
Or of? I've questioned myself for a minute. It's like, how do I spell the word of? Because
is it O-V or is it O-F?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's just like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So getting over that fear, but...
You should have paid attention in high school, Brady.
I tried, right? I tried. But when I was in LA, but then I got into improv and what's improv? Don't think, right?
Yeah, just go impulsive.
And it obviously it's much different audience that is watching an improv show than is watching a stand-up show. I feel like an improv show, they're more forgiving and they're willing to watch this play unfold in front of them.
Yeah.
Versus a stand-up show, it's like make me laugh, monkey boy, right?
Yeah.
So I did it at one time a long time ago. I think it's 2000. And then I was horrible and I didn't do anything. And then when I was on the road, rerunning on the road, there was a comic on the Christian when I was touring. There was this comic named Bob Smiley, and I'm sure he's still out touring.
He's probably dead, dude.
Maybe still doing anything. He was the tour
road comic that long ago, probably dead.
A Christian road comic, so maybe he's still around. Probably not.
Chances are slim.
Chances are slim. But he was like, "Oh, you're quick-witted. You should try improv." And so when I got to LA, I got that job at Disneyland. And when I used to smoke cigarettes. Don't do it, kids. Don't do it. But I was on a smoke break, and the musical director at Disneyland at the time had this department Untapped Hilarity. And their musical director named Michael was also the musical director for Second City. So he said, "Oh, you should come up to Second City and try it." And then I fell in love with it. And then that's all I did was like sketch in Second City. And then in like 2009, I got hired to work on the cruise ships. So I went and worked on Norwegian Cruise Lines when they used to have a partnership with the Second City. And
okay. So you got to do improv on the cruise ships?
Yeah.
So you're already coming from like a successful background in improv. Do you think that helps you sort of take some of those skills like stage presence and stuff when you bring it into stand-up, and maybe that makes you a stronger stand-up early on in your stand-up career?
I mean, yes, but when I first started trying to do stand-up here, coming back here, like the first time I did a stand-up show was at the Liberty Funny Bone, and it was I can't remember, before the pandemic, right? It was like 18, maybe like 2018, and I had some friends come up to that show, and I basically told a 5-minute story for my first set. Right? It wasn't that great. It wasn't that funny. Whatever. Now that 5-minute story is a 30-second joke that I have.
Yeah. So that's where you were compared to now.
A comic friend of mine told me that night. He's like, that 5-minute story is going to be a 30-second joke.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it is now. And so
you figured out how to cut the fat off and sort of, keep it rolling.
And just get, but when I was coming around trying to do stand-up, getting up and just trying to tell my jokes, like trying to remember what I wrote, so scripted. So so when I get nervous, I just get scripted when I get stand-up. When I'm good at stand-up, or when it feels like I'm flowing, is when I just let that improv influence what's happening in the room, and then hit him with my jokes. Right. And I had to learn that. It's not like people are walking around and saying, "Hey, buddy, this is what you need to know." It's like,
no, you're not wrong, because stand-up is like a mixture of skills. It's like you have to have improv skills, you have to have writing, and then you also have to have like that presence and that like accountability for the moment. Mm-hmm. And then those three things together are sort of what you are doing as a stand-up comedian. It's not just jokes. It's not just the improv, right? It's not just the whole theatrical kind of performance going together. You have to have all three boxes checked to put on a good show, right? You really do, and for people to get their money's worth, and that's important.
And I was putting on 2 checks,
yeah,
for the longest time, and it's like, and every once in a while I'd hit the 3 check mark,
yeah,
and I would be driving back home, no music on the radio, just like recounting in my mind what that feeling is,
yeah,
because doing like improv, like I've done like on the cruise ship, 1,800 people were watching us do, sketch and improv.
It was really cool.
It's a fantastic feeling, like having that many people laugh at something that you say.
Yeah, and it's like basically crowd work or off the cuff improv thing that you're doing, that's the real magic of comedy, right? Mm-hmm. Like not necessarily these like guys that are famous for crowd work, and not to say anything bad about these guys are doing great on social media, but it's like the actual magic of it kind of gets taken away when we put it out there on the internet. But having that moment, just you and an audience member or a situation or whatever it is, and being able to make something funny off the top, it literally is like watching someone pull a rabbit out of a hat in that way. It's like,
right.
This is just for us. Nobody's ever going to see this again. It can never be recreated.
And even if it was recorded, it wouldn't make sense.
Wouldn't make sense. And it can never be recreated.
Because you can't put that, that tangible feeling of a live comedy show on the film. It's not, you're not able to do it yet.
Yeah, I mean, like big HBO, Netflix, Hulu. Some people do it to their best ability, but like you said, you do take away some of the allure and some of the magic of what you're seeing in a live show. That's really cool, man. You've had a super interesting life, Brady. Before we get you out of here, real quick, let's talk about. All right. You do stand up.
Yep.
You've done improv. What's the worst show? What's the worst set? The worst bomb you've ever had? And how'd you deal with it?
I think how to deal with any bomb is just like keep going, right? Don't let the bomb defeat you. But going from being to where I think I was good at improv, right? Mm-hmm. Like I would get on stage and I wouldn't worry about it, and then it felt like the first year, every show that I would do as stand-up felt like a bomb. It just felt like, it wasn't right. One of the biggest ones, I think, I was at Go Bananas like early in my career, and I tried to make this joke about my sister at the end of my set, and I have never felt so much hatred in a room for me. It's like because they didn't know who I am. They don't know my heart and where I'm trying to come from. And
you're just trying to do edgy stuff.
They heard this half-hearted, edgy bit about whatever it is, and it was just like, and I was already tanking already, and so they're like, "This is perfect." And my wife and her friends were in that, to that audience. It came to that, and that's like my wife Julie's the same. She's watched me like when you go to when you see a shitty improv show, you're watching close to hell. Yeah. Right. She's sat through a bunch of my shitty improv shows.
Like open mic kind of things.
It's basically like an open mic.
Yeah.
And it's our jam. And it's just like, and she saw that and she was like,
It's different. It's a little bit different.
And she's not one to not give me criticism. I love when she gives me, good advice or whatever. And she was like, I just don't know what happened there. And when she said that, I was like, oh boy, this is the worst I've ever felt.
Bombing in front of your wife and
her friends
Her friends
came out.
And this is the problem: is that was probably their first impression of you as a stand-up.
Right.
And first impressions count big time.
Right, dude.
5 years from now, you start hitting the road. You start actually becoming the stand-up you want to become. They're going to be like, you mean that guy who fucking said that, right?
That guy named Brady Bunch?
That's the impression. That's terrible.
You don't think
that's tough, man.
Somebody once said to me, it's like, people forget your name. It's like, dude, I don't feel like they do. Because like when I was a kid, my mom would be like, you got a name. You got to make sure that the people are not going to forget.
Yeah.
If you do them wrong. They'll forget John Smith did you wrong.
Yeah, but not Brady Bunch. So
hell no.
Yeah.
If I made a little joke about somebody's sideburns 20 years, there's somebody watching this podcast right now.
Yeah.
You know who you are. Ray. Right? And making fun of shitty sideburns.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You got to take that extra step of precaution when your name's Brady Bunch. I feel a similar way because I have like a unique name. Mm-hmm. It's a silly name for no reason.
Right.
God curse my parents for this name, but it's fun. I've grown into it.
Exactly. You do.
Yeah.
You have to.
You do. I'll tell you this. I'll never forget your name. And
I'll never forget your name.
You're a friend of mine, and I appreciate you for coming and talking to me. And I think you're very funny, and I wish you the best, brother.
I wish you the best. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Make sure you subscribe to Johnny Woods podcast because it's.
Do you have anything you want to plug before we go?
Time.
Do you have any shows coming up?
No. If you're a comic and you need an older comic to kind of give you life lessons and maybe open or feature for you, give me a shout out. BradyBunchComedy.com. Don't mind the website. It is changing.
That's Brady Bunch, guys. Pat Callahan's been behind the camera the whole time.
Thank you, Pat.
Our faithful producer. We appreciate you for being here, buddy. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next week. I'll be on the road, so check back in. Bye.
Bye.
Dude, that was great, Brady. Thank you, brother.
All right.
Man, that was fun. I think we really got.